When you hang around with programmers, you might have heard of APIs and how they can be used to perform certain tasks or retrieve some data. But what are these exactly and why were they created? Let me explain the problem with a simple non-IT related example. When you go to a restaurant and order some food, you interact with the waiter. You can order food and drinks, ask questions about the menu, request and pay the bill, and much more. In this example, the waiter is shielding you from all the complicated stuff that happens behind the scene. You do not have to worry about stoves, ovens, dishes, managing stocks, or pouring drinks. Here is the interface between you and all of the service that our restaurants offer, giving you a way to interact with the restaurant while still shielding you from all the complexity behind the scene. In a way, the waiter can be seen as the API of the restaurant, and through this example, you intuitively understand why they were useful. The term API stands for Application Programmable Interface, and it was a way of different programs to work together in various ways. There are many types of APIs and reasons why they are used. I will highlight 4 of them here. For starters, API can be used to get access to data from third parties. In the restaurant example, the waiter can provide you information on the status of your order without you having to go to the kitchen yourself. Another example would be the weather app on your phone. Google or Apple has not gone out and put temperature sensor all over the world. No, instead this app use the API of a third party retrieve weather prediction. Apple, for instance, is using the API of the weather channel. API allow different apps and service to exchange information. These days, it is hard to find a service that doesn't have an API. There are APIs to look up recipes, lyrics, information on barcode, zip codes, available parking space, public holidays, and so on. Aside from just accessing data, APIs can also be used to hide complexity and perform tasks. In the restaurant example, you do not need to know how to prepare a perfect roll of sushi. You just order one of. Another example would be the operating system on our computers and phones. App developers do not have to worry about setting up a Wi-Fi connection, drawing shape onto the scene to make a beautiful user interface, or talking to the various sensors like the accelerometer or GPS. No, instead the operating system gives developers a bunch of APIs that simplify all of this. If an app wants to show a button on the screen, it just asks the system to render one. The app doesn't have to worry about the device it is running on, what hardware is has, screen resolution, or anything like that. It makes developer more efficient because they can focus on what matters on them. But aside from accessing data and abstracting complexity, APIs can also be used to extend functionality. For instance, on iOS, application can show widget in notification center, and to do that, the app notification the system through an API that has a widget available. And if the user adds it to their notification center, the system will contact the app to ask how it should display the widget. Another example is Siri, Google Assistants, or Alexa. These personal assistants are quite clever, but external developers can use the assistants API to extend their functionality ever further. My home Google, for instance, did not know how to turn my smart plugs on and off, but the changed when the vendor integrated with the Google Assistant through its API. Suddenly, Google becomes aware of the new hardware, its capabilities, and how to interact with them. Nice, you might not realize it, but APIs are all around us. You have seen probably message like this, your phone asking for permission to use your location or microphone. That bring us to the final use case. APIs can be used a gatekeeper. For instance, on mobile platform, the system only has a handful of API that can be used to get your location, and because it is centralized in the system, it is really easy for iOS or Android to notify you when an app is using your location. So it is not the app that is being nice and ask permission first. No, it is the system that does it for them. There is no way around it. What is more, the system also gives the ability to revoke this permission at a later time should you change your mind. So every time your phone asks you for permission, you know that an app is using an API of the system, and one that is privacy sensitive. And while that is great, there is an issue with this. Usually permission is only asked once. You might have used your Google or Facebook account to log in to another website or app. It is easy, fast and convenient, but by doing this, we also give the website or app the permission to access some of our data, like our name or emails. That is great because it puts us in control of our personal data. If you do not want to share it, you just deny it. However, the problem here is that sometimes these permissions are long lasting, and after a while we forgot what app or website we gave permission to access our data. This is what allowed Cambridge Analytica to collect massive amount of data through the Facebook API. They created a personalized quiz that asked for permission to get some of your personal data. However, if you give it permission, the app could silently access your data for months, even if you do not use it anymore. Instead, you had to revoke the permission through the Facebook website. So, in short, API can act as a gatekeepers, protecting our personal data and only giving it out to the apps we choose. But we should be aware of how long those permissions last and revoke them when we no longer use an app. So, time of a conclusion, APIs are all around us. They are used to get access to data so that multiple apps or services can work together. They can also hide complexity for developers, allowing them to not waste time on figuring out how GPUs work. For instance, APIs can also be used to extend the functionality of existing system. And finally, they can act as gatekeeper to protecting our personal data. I hope this video brought some clarity to a topic that is mostly discussed among developers. Let me know your thought or question in the comment below. Thank you so much for watching this.